Hi guys and dear followers, welcome back! And here we have actually our second light from Xtar that we're taking a look closer in our channel. Again, I'm very happy to have a little bit of a bigger brand variety at the moment here, and I hope you are too. And today we're going to be taking a look at the D20 1000 lumens diving light from Xtar. And I can give you already a little bit of an idea. This light actually really surprised me for nothing else but the size. The size was so amazing, and you're gonna see what I actually mean in a second. Coming to the package, on the outside we have a nice illustration of the light. We have some information here, also that we are using an XPL LED from Cree, so it's always good to know what's actually inside there. And in the back again we have a nice and small, it's almost a user manual with all the details and specs for the light. The light itself again has a very nice magnetic, let's call it a system to actually close the package. And I'm saying again because I just reviewed the D30 just a short while back, so if you want to take a look at that you can now. But the D30 was a very similar type of package, also from Xtar, of course. Now inside the actual package we can already see the light, and I'm gonna get it out, and the light is going to be the last thing we're going to take a look. So I'm just going to put it here. It's going to stay in our site. And in the actual package, we have, besides this protection, which we don't need, we have two user manuals. We have the user manual for our diving light. Also going to take a look in that a second. And we have a user manual for the charger, which comes included. This, to be honest, I don't need. Okay. And then at the bottom of the package, and that's something you need to get out, of course, we have the small accessory package. And in this package we have three main things. We have the charger, which is an MC1 Plus, or Pro as they call it. This is their newest and most updated single slot charger they have on the market at the moment, together with its USB cable. It's operating at 5 volts, which is a USB normal output. There it is. And of course the charger is a very good thing to have. And the third thing which actually comes in the package is a small lanyard, as well as a spare set of O-rings down there. Spare set of O-rings is also always very important on a diving light, so you have the matching pair of O-rings if one day yours go bad. So very nice to have. Depending on where you're getting the package, on where exactly you're buying it, and of course at what package price you're getting it, you may have a battery or not included. In my case not, but I've seen, I already mentioned this in the D30 review, I've seen other reviews from Xtar branded batteries also, and chargers. They're very known for the chargers, and they have very good batteries, most of them with protection, and they usually actually include in this D20 package the 3500 milliamp hours, so that's a very good battery. And now you already can see I have the light in my hands. Now this is a ridiculously small light. The light itself is actually this big. And if you take a look at the size of this, I find this ridiculously small considering it carries an 18650 battery and it has an output of 1000 lumens, and it really has quite a strong output. The only thing we are not really getting in this kind of very small sized reflector is a nice spotted beam angle, and this we're going to take a look in 1 second. Just quickly going to go over the design. Of course we have a nice branding from Xtar, the D20, and so on and so on. We have a nice battery cap in the back which screws off. This is the only unscrewable part on the light. We have a nice battery, let's call it compartment. In the front we have the drivers, and of course all the way in the front we have the Cree XPL V6, and this is actually a very good LED, and they are getting better and better because this is an LED on a 3.5 by 3.5 millimeter basis, so it's a super small LED actually, and it can work with smaller reflectors. And to switch the light we actually have a rotating ring, a rotating magnetic ring on here. Now first of all let's get a battery in there so I can show you some of the features. We're gonna unscrew the back part, which is of course the battery compartment's, in this case, cap. And you can already see here we have two small O-rings. They're very tiny and small. We have some good spacing between the O-rings and the actual thread. And then we have a nice cleanly cut thread. It goes very smoothly, it works quite well, so that's a nice thing. Now here I actually got one of those batteries you can buy actually mostly now even online, which are the 18650s with even an included charging board on top with a simple micro USB or Type-C, even I've been seeing them, charging port. These are the longest 18650s I've ever seen, but even these will work in this light. So we're going to put the positive, of course, towards our head. We're going to stand screw on our back cap, and as soon as this is closed, we can operate the light. Now, as I said, we have a nice magnet slider, and if we slide this magnet slider to the first position, which is 1 to the right, clockwise, the light comes on the highest mode. This highest mode is at around, and here I need to peek into our nice user manual, around 1000 lumens. The mid is going to be at around 590 lumens, so around 500-600 lumens, which is just barely or more or less half of the brightness. To get that, we need to turn the actual light a little bit more to the right, to the next position, and then we have the low output. If you now turn the light more even to the third position to the right, we have the SOS frequency, or in this case, the SOS Morse code. Now we don't really gonna need this, yeah, but here you have actually the option of switching between the high and low mode, and if you don't need the whole thing, you can put it off. Something I got included, and thanks very much for you guys to sending me this nice thing as a, let's call it gift or small surprise actually. This is one of the new rings Xtar is designing. These nice rings make it possible also if you're wearing some, let's imagine gloves, or if you don't underwater with wet hands, sometimes it's a bit hard to move actually this ring without using your second hand. Sometimes it's a bit hard. And using this ring, which is actually made out of POM or deldrin, which is a very nice and actually hard plastic, you can just slide the whole ring on top. It goes exactly on top of the actual rotary ring, and like this you can easily move the whole thing around with one finger. So this tiny, nice and really small piece of plastic or POM actually makes a huge difference in the operation of the light, because you can nicely control, switch through the light without having to worry about anything, and you can use basically all of your fingers for this, yeah, without an issue, easily switching the light in this case. Now, this ring, I'm not sure to which point it is already included in this D20. This is a very new thing, and I'm not sure how far these have already been sold to resellers and so on. So don't expect this to be included, but just be happy if it comes. From a few months on from now, I think it's going to be included in all, but that's just my opinion. If you don't get it, you can always do a ring by yourself. And there my tip is actually, if you have a problem with this, just use a zip tie. Just put the zip tie around, tie it on, cut the excess off, and you're going to have this small piece from the zip tie, and this is already more than enough to control it. So this is my tip, in case you don't get it, will also work very well. Now guys, enough talking about the actual switching mechanism, and I just want to give you an idea to what I said before in terms of the light angle. We have quite a wide beam angle, and this comes mostly because the head is quite small and they could not use a very big reflector. Of course, the bigger the reflector, the easier it's manageable to get a nice spot of light. And here I'm going to bring in the Orca Torch D530. For me, in terms of light angle, this is my favorite light, and I'm more than honest in terms of that, and I've said it even on the channel a few times. This is an amazing thing when it comes to the spot, and you can see what I mean. You see the spot from the D530, it is nothing comparable to the D20 from Xtar. Now that's not a bad thing, I just wanted to bring you this as an example, which is basically the smaller the light, of course, the smaller and handier it is, but you are always gonna be losing on in terms of spot. So this is something just for you to get an idea. It's nice and small, but you're gonna lose a little bit on the spot. Now, just to give you this as a last comparison, this is what I'm talking about. You see the size of the reflector, you see the size of the head. Of course, with a big head, you're getting more of a spot. With a nice and small head, you don't get such a spotty thing, but you have a super small head. And now actually this is one of the things I was also talking about. This is ridiculously small. It offers us 1000 lumens. It's more or less the same as this with 1002 or 1300 lumens. But comparing the size and actually regarding it's the same battery which is being used, the 18650, of course you have a much smaller light. So this is something you need to decide on what is better for you, but I actually really like the small size, and considering it's using an 18650 with 1000 lumens, you have a really amazing small light here. but of course you don't have this crazy spot if you really liked it. Now, I think we've been talking enough about the D20 here in the dry, and I would suggest that we jump into the water and we check out my videos that I've been doing from the D20 from Xtar. So let's go. Alright guys, so I hope you could get a better idea on how the Xtar D20 will perform in the actual diving and underwater environment, which I think is a very important thing. If you're buying a diving light, you not only want to see the nice pictures in the dry, how it looks from the design, but you want to see how the actual thing performs underwater on a real dive. Now, two quick pros and cons. I always like to do this at the end. In terms and besides the design, which I like, you have a nice rubber ring, protects the whole thing in the front, but besides the whole design from the torch, I really like that they've done this small ring, because this is not the first light I see with this type of, let's call it rotating ring for a magnetic switch. But by using this nice and really, let's call it a really minimalistic and so easy thing to do, but you can have such a completely different type of user experience, mainly if you're diving. I don't really use it, but mainly if you use a lot of gloves or you dive in colder water, this type of switch without this ring on top, it's horrible. Trust me, I've been using, of course, gloves before, and it's horrible. So this is really a nice thing that they've worked on that or designed this. Now, pros, of course, ridiculously small light with a high output and an 18650, which is going to give you quite a long runtime for a 1000 lumen light. So that's a super good thing, super nice in terms of size. And also, which is a very good thing I like on that, is that you basically have a light which comes with a charger, ideally with a battery, with all this, the stuff, and you actually have a nice packaging. So it's actually all around a very nice package you're getting. And in terms of negative points, I only have 2 or 3. First of all, it's of course the light angle. But as I always say, light angle as well as light intensity depends on who buys it and what you want. If you want a stronger one, get a stronger one. So you have 1000 lumens and you have a relatively wide beam. But I think I already talked enough about the beam angle in this video. There is just one more thing I want to tell you guys, and this is the actual mounting hole for the lanyard. The lanyard which comes in here is ridiculously small. It's okay for this type of light, but I would rather see more of a wrist strap, and the mounting hole you got in there is also very small. If you have a little bit of a thicker rope, which you want to use, or really those standard wrist straps, you're not going to get them through. You actually need to use something thinner or smaller, like they have here. This is more or less like the camera straps. So this is maybe just a small thing I don't really like, which they could have made a bit bigger, just for you guys to know for the future, in this case you guys Xtar, but they have made the light as small as possible, and there, of course, you always have to have some drawbacks, and I think this is one of them. Now guys, in terms of the D20, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope to see you back on my channel soon. I have some other videos coming up, but until then, I always wish you good and safe dives. See you then.